Thank you, Marcel. Thanks a lot. It's a great honor to be here with you. It's a great pleasure for Swisscom to be again an AMLD partner. Thanks, Marcel. Now, towards the end of the conference, let's recap about AI challenges and collaborations. And as you might have guessed, my title slide is inspired by a really nice picture that I like, the Great Wave of Kanagawa. But in the Swiss context, this is the great slope of Kandersteg, I think. In a few slides, I hope you will understand my analogy to the Great Wave. Let me take a few seconds of your precious time to ask you to close your eyes. Join me in a journey 2 years back in time, back to the 26th of March, 2022. What was the situation back then, exactly 2 years ago? What happened in the world? How did you spend your working days? What were your fears? What were your hopes? And why? Thank you. You can open your eyes again if you like. If you now thought about J.K. Rowling hitting back on after Putin says that J.K. Rowling and Russia are both victims of cancel culture. Yes, this was also exactly 2 years ago. It was the headline of the day. But I think most of you thought more about that we lived in a world that was quite different than from today. Maybe you thought that back then it was quite hard, expensive, and time-consuming to render or Photoshop inspiring pictures for our presentations. But then a few days later, DALL-E 2 stunned us and gave away the first hints that something big was about to happen. Or maybe you thought that back then it was still the time that you had to explain to your grandma, to your parents, to your family and friends what you studied, what you worked on, and maybe even more difficult, you had to explain why. Today, everybody knows. It could be that you thought instead that back then it was a time of normally high or crazily low AI salaries. Normally high or crazily low, I think your opinion mostly depends on which side of a hiring exercise you stand today. Whatever you thought, the great wave, the tsunami that started to hit the shore of public attention on the 30th November, changed the world with a speed and impact that almost nobody predicted. I could not wish for a better audience because all you know, much better than most of the general public, that this wave didn't came out of nowhere. Smaller waves have seen before. Since then, many of the conversations that we have with colleagues and friends have one common denominator. They turn around the key question, will we be able to ride this wave? Will we be able to surf on it with all its acceleration, its energy and opportunities? Or will it crush us with all the risks and power it is rolling at us? Together with you, I would like to spend the next 20 minutes to explore these opportunities and risks of the recent AI developments from 3 different viewpoints. First, from an academic viewpoint. What are the big research questions we need to answer next? Where is more fundamental research needed? How can we accelerate applied research and maybe even other research fields? Following by questions from the public sector viewpoint. What are fundamental societal principles that AI might change? Where is coordinated regulation needed to mitigate the risks? And how is international collaboration possible to guarantee some fairness in its exploration? Last but not least, from a private sector viewpoint. Where and how can the private sector collaborate to address these challenges? What are the trusted and innovative business models for the future that can work? And how can these business models be made sustainable and human-centered? My name is Daniel Dobos. I'm a research director of Swisscom. Our research team at the Swisscom Digital Lab in the EPFL Innovation Park, just a few hundred meters, I think, in this direction, concentrates since 2016 on innovation and disruptive research topics. I focus to build the global research collaboration that allow us to build delightful AI solutions for our customers. Previously, I had also the opportunity to work on technology strategic foresight for the United Nations, especially on advanced data analytics and AI, as well as a particle physicist at CERN. I enjoyed dealing with huge data bandwidths. JP, I would have loved one of your devices back then. I had to deal with something like 80 terabytes per second. For many years, this was much bigger than the entire bandwidth of the internet. And with low inferences times, down to 25 nanoseconds. I still have a passion for quantum machine learning. So as you see, I have a passion for looking at big questions from a balanced 360-degree view. For example, the question if 2024 will now be the AI all-out competition, profit, glory, and global supremacy year. Who knows? Let me try to highlight 3 key aspects from each of the 3 sectors. Understanding is the first key challenge from the academic viewpoint. And I don't mean here just purely academically opening the often quoted AI black box. Not just purely empirically experimenting as an AI evolutionary biologist trying to understand which architecture from the exploding model zoo best works for which tasks. For example, the strength of the animal Yalama 42. Who knows that model? Yeah? What is the strength? Who knows that? Nobody? Yeah, I just made that up. So, doesn't exist, but we have no overview anymore. Huh? I mean here more understanding the opportunities and risks from the exponential growth we see in front of us. Moore's law. We have learned well about the opportunities from the empirical Moore's law of transistors, exponential growth, right? Did we though? We learned well as humanity about the risks of exponential growth from the last pandemic and social media. Did we though? Explainability, XAI, and reasoning is equally important and needs our academic attention. Some good progress has been done in the last years, especially in the direction of ad hoc, post hoc, and transparency explainability. Still, there remains a lot to do until we could get into intuitive synthetic dependencies, semantic role visualization, and especially between the different information domains of a foundation model, training data, fine-tuning information, prompt, and questions. Multimodality is for sure a challenge, but it can also be a great chance to creative, intuitive explanations. Education is the next generation, and also the current generation, might be even the biggest academic challenge, how to make smart AI decisions. The number of AI and ML publications grows exponentially on the top left, doubling every 23 months. On the bottom left, the number of computer science PhD students doubled in the last decade, and the number of computer science, computer engineering, and information faculties stayed practically unchanged. Looking at the AI education and skills plot from the World Economic Forum, you might tell me, Daniel, relax and calm down. Telecommunication, where is it? There it is. Only 50% of the telcos have AI skills training priorities. That should be doable, right? But Swisscom also became, in the last years, the leading ICT full service provider of Switzerland. Is active in entertainment and announced a few weeks ago also smart insurances. I worry. By the way, only 93% of information and technology services want to use AI technologies. And the remaining 7%, We're lying? Well, maybe not. So if you know an ICT executive who doesn't want to use AI technologies, please introduce me. I want to shake their hands. I want an autograph. No, I'm just kidding. To the public sector. We could talk hours about current and future geopolitical risk of AI. JP, I guess you know them very, very well, huh? Instead here, I just recommend you to read some of the recent works of OECD, GCSP, WEF, and the European Union. And especially work on AI ascendancy, we work together with the Geneva Graduate Institute on. Scalability. Is it working? Oh, perfect. Scalability, not with technical, but with societal. International and local organizations of the public sector have embraced the positive opportunities of relatively small social media. They also experienced the dramatic negative effects by the exponential acceleration and amplification effects once social media scaled to the critical reach. Due to our human attention to more novel, surprising, shocking, anger-inducing facts, false information spread 6 times faster than the truth. International organizations learned painfully that people die due to false information, like, for example, in mob killings, or purely due to the rumors of food distribution. If we incentivize our AI algorithms blindly for maximum reach, we ask for the negative effects of social media to be put on steroids, on exponential. And we might only experience some of these effects when AI reached the critical scale of involvement in our daily lives. Luckily, many international organizations understood that the use of AI systems in mission-critical or critical infrastructure creates risks. The UN, the European Union started to act, arguably maybe even overshooting here and there, with the risk of slow innovation. But it is often forgotten in these discussions that critical infrastructure AI can decide about life and death. I'm a big fan of the World Food Programme Hunger Map, an excellent combination of data visualization extended with multiple predictive elements for food shortages. The ability to act proactive saves many lives. But once decisions are based on it, it becomes critical infrastructure. Stability becomes mission critical. If suddenly it becomes unavailable, you're putting lives at risk. Annie showed yesterday Meditron. In the same way, once firemen, ambulances, policemen start to use such medical devices on a daily basis, it becomes infrastructure and it needs the stability and the attention it deserves. One of the opportunities for the private sector is personalization. With AI, but maybe even more AI personalization. The fascination of these topics comes from a theory that more personalized products allow for higher revenues. So one does not need to look into a glass ball to know that hyper and real-time personalization with AI will grow dramatically. The big question, though, remains, which business model will society choose? Ad-supported, with the user as a product, or paid, with the user as a customer? The risks of the first we all know well from search engines and social media. A key challenge for the private sector is ensuring human-centered AI use cases, which aim to augment human abilities, address societal needs, or draw inspiration from humans. Surveys indicate that only a small fraction of the AI models make it into production. 1/3 fail due to technical reasons. Roughly half of it fail due to missing ML leadership practice or decision-making. ML systems are often seen as not strong or reliable enough. Successful human-centered models typically involve significant enhancement to human abilities, such as the ability to analyze millions of shipping containers per day, which has no alternative to be operated by humans. And since 2015, most ML systems are built now by industry, or maybe better even in this plot. I think, Marcel, you also showed that in the opening. There's a special responsibility on the industry to take meaningful decisions where to invest resources. Building trust is maybe the biggest challenge for the private sector. Some of you might still remember that once you used to have photo prints of holiday pictures. Already back then, the photo printing labs used special filters to make the holiday photos nicer. First, these filters were selected by humans, later automatically. Recently, Patrick Chomet from Samsung made a controversial statement. It shows the difficulty of how to build and maintain customer trust, while also reacting to customer needs. We want World Photography Awards with our photo cameras, which are in our mobile phones, are typically comparable, small, cheap, and low resolution to professional cameras. You might remember the so-called fake moon discussion, which highlighted to many the presence of such Gen AI algorithms already in the day-to-day lives. Well, I'm not sure I agree with his statement about what makes a photo real. I highly appreciate his recognition of the risk. But trust can only exist if the industry is responsible and it needs to be regulated. The resulting risk and opportunity map is a basic overview. You might miss the usual hallucination, misinformation, regulation, and standardization here. But I hope you allow me to argue that these are symptoms of the root causes and challenges and the uncertainties listed here. The only way I know to face these challenges efficiently is through collaboration. With EPFL, we have a collaboration here since 2016. And instead of going through the detailed timeline, allow me to just mention that each collaboration is a journey. A long way from getting interested in transformers in 2017 to be more than now 350 colleagues in Swisscom concentrating on data and analytics and AI solution and building global collaborations for partnerships. We try to use all tools that the AI toolbox offers us. Our goal is that together with the state-of-the-art AI leaders and the right technology, we want to create delighting human-centered AI solutions for our customers. Some of its current focal areas include smart operations and maintenance, customer chatbots, and customer understanding. A few weeks ago, our EPFL Fachhochschule Westschweiz and Fachhochschule Nordwestschweiz master student presented their results, and by now most of his thesis passed the defense. Congratulations to all our AI new stars. Some of his results were included in the AI and connectivity track yesterday that we had. That was really, really nice. I think one of the highlights was the panel where we discussed what will be the future. Will we basically use AI mostly on servers, or will we have it basically, like the mobile phones in our pockets, or will it be a hybrid structure of that? A really wonderful discussion with some of our good friends. We heard about unsupervised machine learning on mobile network to optimize it. We heard also about finding event sequences in large, not to say huge, data streams. And you heard what I call big and large and huge, right? 80 terabytes per second. We looked into our stack of LLM-based customer case dialogue systems. We also heard that it's quite challenging to deal with 200 million nodes knowledge graph, but with graph abstraction based on node embedding and variational graph autoencoders can be of great help. And with graph embedding models based on RGCN and contrastive learning can be very, very useful. I mentioned collaboration. One of the recent collaborations that we had was the AI House in Davos, which was an extremely interesting experience during the World Economic Forum in general. And it was the goal to build this kind of platform for exchange, to discuss, define, and empower the impact of AI on the world. The challenge was obviously to bring a lot of organizations together. In total, 39 different organizations from 3 sectors came together to present, discuss, define, and empower the impact of AI on the world. As one of the initiators, co-creating, it was really thrilling to see the broad global reactions. A big thanks to all the partnering organizations and the incredible experiences. In 5 days, we had 186 speakers, including Jan LeCun, Gary Marcus, Stuart Russell, Andrew Ensch, just to name a few highlights. There have been more than 44 exciting discussions, co-organized with all our AI house partners. But for us at Swisscom, certainly the announcement of trusted AI factories in Switzerland, together with NVIDIA, was one of our highlights. Several times we heard in the last days that access to performant infrastructure is not always easy. We aspire to be the bridge builder and innovator of trust, which allows to create trustworthy services. One of my personal highlights were that 3 of our graduate institute students, Jankin, Vipar, and Tobias, moderated a panel discussion on AI geopolitics, including Brad Smith from Microsoft, Doreen Bogdan-Martin from the Secretary General of the ITU, Amandeep Gill, the Envoy of Technology of the United Nations, and Marie-Laure Sals from the Geneva Graduate Institute. Incredible session, and the students rocked it. We love experiments. Can a competition of 2 Gen AI teams on the stage, using the latest Gen AI tools and tricks, be as entertaining as e-gaming? I don't know, but let's find out together. With the first with the first Swiss Gen AI Championships. If you want to help co-organizing it, you know where to find me. So to sum up, Swisscom offers more than just connectivity. We are at the heart of Swiss AI ecosystem, working on exciting use cases. We invite you to join us and discuss how we can learn together about global AI challenges and opportunities. Let's collaborate to create a more connected and inclusive world, all while prioritizing human-centered AI. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. Let's take a seat. We only have time for a few questions, but we will, of course, do this in a civilized fashion. And once again, yeah, the QR codes are open. But I want to start with the first question that I'm always curious about. So you're doing many different things, and you spoke about these 3 angles at Swisscom, and you yourself, as you mentioned, have been quite involved in the public sector. Yet at times it always feels difficult, I mean, the public sector has this enormous demand. I think we've seen some of the gaps during the COVID pandemic. How do you think about this at Swisscom? Meaning, presumably working with the private companies is relatively straightforward, business as usual. How does that work? I mean, given day-to-day challenges, of course, but we're all on the same page, right? How does it work to bring AI to the public sector?
I don't think that it's dramatically different from the public sector, the private sector, and even academia. I think the basic challenges are always the same. How to find the right team, how to find the drivers who are willing to take risks. And this is the same if it's in academia, where you have to take a risk of researching something, or if it's in the public sector where you have to then convince your stakeholders and taking the risk that you might do something that others don't see immediately to be useful for society, or might it be in the private sector where you have to take maybe some kind of risk of business value where you're not sure that it creates a business value immediately, or you have to wait for some time. So I think it's not really difficult. Finding the right passionate team and bring it together, I think this makes a success.
From your side, but do you feel the same from the other side? I mean, to give you an anecdote, I remember many years ago, this was before the COVID pandemic, when I went to Bern and I spoke to a federal counselor who shall not be named, who told me into my face that, you know, this digitization, it's very important, but, you know, if we miss it, well, we'll still be around. You'll never hear this from the private industry, right? I bet.
I think you don't hear it anymore, but I think, you know, I was not there in the private sector a few years ago, a few decades ago, but I'm pretty sure that this kind of same arguments have existed there. I think the speed is sometimes different. The language is also sometimes different in the public sector, private sector. So to learn also translating between those, I think is extremely important. Yes, I think we are moving closer and closer to each other. And I think solutions that basically really show value also to decision makers in the public sector, especially also on the time scale that were re-elected, hopefully also makes them understanding why AI is so important and why it's such a big opportunity.
Good, good. One of the questions, the second question here is something that interests me, and maybe that's the final question also. How do you see now research at Swisscom going forward, and maybe you know, attached to that, what are you looking for when you look at EPFL students, and what are you awaiting from EPFL for your research plans? What's the match there? The match hopefully made in heaven.
That's a very, very good question. Obviously, we don't do fundamental research. What we try to do is do applied research, where we take the best results out of fundamental research, do the applied research that is needed on them to really transfer it into products. Sometimes this is done, you know, too early. There's basically research that one often sees that even technically it works. The market is not yet ready for it, and it needs, you know, to wait several years until there's really the demand on it. Sometimes one is too late. But I think finding the sweet spot of the right timing when one needs to transfer fundamental research into real business applications, this is one of our big goals in Swisscom Research.
Excellent. Well, we're really grateful to have you. You know, I keep telling people the longest running partner of AMLD is Swisscom. I very much remember the first time we launched AMLD, and I went to Swisscom to convince the people there, and they were totally on board. And that's the most important, as I think every startup knows, finding the first believer. And Swisscom was the first believer in AMLD. So thank you very much for that over the years.
Thanks for a great partnership. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.